Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are turning the chaotic, wildly unpredictable world of the small claims courtroom into our very own behavioral laboratory. Now, at first glance, small claims court might just look like a place to, argue about unpaid rent or a dented bumper. But if you actually look closer, it's a giant magnifying glass on human behavior, and frankly, a masterclass in what absolutely not to do in your interpersonal relationships. So we're going to dive into some real, fully documented disputes to extract some hard, universal truths about how we interact with each other.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, welcome to small claims. 2, blood, money, and family. 3, the cost of broken romance. 4, the anatomy of a lie. And finally, number 5, ultimate courtroom life lessons. All right, starting off with Section 1, welcome to small claims, where everyday disputes reveal universal truths. Let's move right into Section 2, blood, money, and family. This is all about when family loans are actually just disguised power plays.
You see, small claims court is really where the rubber meets the road. It's the ultimate testing ground for contracts, personal loans, and honestly, the boundaries of human decency. A good judge strips away all that emotional baggage and forces people to look at the objective facts of their own choices. And we see this so clearly when mixing blood and finance. Because when family members do business, it is rarely just a clean transaction. It's almost always a disguised power play. To put that into perspective, I want you to ask yourself this rhetorical question. Should you sell a 10-year-old car to your 30-year-old son for a profit? Because in our first case, a mother named Johnny Seibert purchased a 1997 Saturn from her own mother for $3,000 and then immediately turned around and sold it to her son for $3,200. When the judge asked her about this massive family markup, her answer was just baffling.
She told the court, verbatim, I had to teach him a lesson. I mean, wow. This defense perfectly captures that dysfunctional dynamic we're talking about. She wasn't selling him a car just to give him a way to get to work. No, she sold it at a premium to exert control, basically financially punishing him under the guise of parental guidance.
But listen, the court does not care about a mother's convoluted life lessons, right? The court cares about objective value. And this brings us to a brilliant example of Judy math. The judge simply pulled out the Kelley Blue Book. It turns out a 1997 Saturn in good condition was actually only worth $1,550. So the mother had grossly overpaid her own mother and then tried to pass an even larger, totally unfair burden onto her son. Because the son had already paid $400, the judge logically ruled the true remaining balance was only $1,150. The big takeaway here, you definitely don't sell a relative a car for twice what it's actually worth.
Now, if you thought Mother A was crossing a line, let's contrast with Mother B. In an even more shocking case, a 19-year-old daughter goes into labor. Her mother's car had broken down, so the mom asks to borrow the daughter's 1997 Pontiac just to get to the hospital. Pretty normal, right? Well, the mother then keeps the car for 3 months. Under the guise of helping her unemployed new mother-daughter save on insurance, she convinces the poor girl to sign the back of the title. She then secretly transfers ownership entirely to herself and eventually claims she bought the car without ever handing over a single dime. Well, the judge was having absolutely none of it. She delivered this sharp, sarcastic rebuke to Mother B, pointing out that if a mother borrows a car for 3 months, she should fix it up, pay for the tags, and return it with immense gratitude. The judge looked right at her and stated, "That's what a mother does. Real family support does not look like auto theft." The daughter got her title right back, as she should have.
Moving on to Section 3, the cost of broken romance, or, as we like to call it, the toxic math of ex-lovers.
So, we've established that family and money are a highly volatile mix. But what happens when you throw romance into the blender? Let's look at the disastrous financial consequences of commingling your funds and your life with a romantic partner. Here is a staggering case of misplaced affection. Does uprooting your life guarantee a romantic commitment? You would think the answer is obvious, but love, or maybe just infatuation, makes people do some really terrible math.
Check out the absolutely absurd timeline of a guy named Jose Torres. So, he separates from his wife of 13 years and moves in with his new girlfriend. He then convinces this girlfriend to pull her children out of their subsidized daycare, quit her 2 jobs, and relocate 45 minutes away just so he can be closer to his own kids. And she actually does all of this. But get this. Exactly 3 weeks after moving, Jose receives a Christmas card from his estranged wife, who had spitefully cut his face out of the family photo. This apparently stresses him out so much that he immediately abandons the new girlfriend and moves right back in with his wife. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Naturally, the girlfriend sued him for all the wages she lost by giving up her entire life for him. And guess how much the court awarded her? Exactly $0. You simply cannot sue someone for your own misplaced trust. You don't get awarded money for, well, stupidity. However, the court did make a hilarious note. When Jose walked out, the girlfriend exacted a tiny bit of revenge by throwing all of his clothes and his Nintendo GameCube straight into the trash. And honestly, the judge let her get away with it.
All right, here's another romantic disaster for you. A man named John Bambino comes to court claiming his ex-girlfriend, Tina, was a total lunatic. He claims she stalked him, harassed him, and even poured soda on his clothes over a period of 6 months. Yet the objective reality was entirely different, because during this exact same 6-month period where he claimed to be absolutely terrified of her unbalanced behavior, he happily accepted a $1,200 cash loan from her to pay his rent, his heating bill, and even his doctor visits. The judge, of course, saw right through this charade and delivered the absolute truth of the case. Look, if you genuinely believe someone is unbalanced or sick, you don't take their money, you distance yourself. As the judge perfectly put it, nice people don't take advantage of sick people. John Bambino acted like a total cad, and he was forced to pay back every single cent.
That brings us to Section 4, the anatomy of a lie, and how the truth always surfaces.
It's amazing how elaborate fabrications inevitably just crumble under the weight of physical evidence in a courtroom. We have a brilliant juxtaposition here regarding property damage. Let's contrast these two defendants. First up, we have 5-year-old Darian. He and a friend scratched a neighbor's car with some rocks. When confronted, the 5-year-old immediately confessed to his dad and told the absolute truth in court. Then you compare him to 23-year-old Jason, who was a former Marine. Jason did donuts in his Jeep on a neighbor's commercial property, smashed into a fence, and caused massive damage. But instead of owning up to it, Jason concocted this wild, elaborate lie, claiming he had actually crashed his Jeep into a tree miles away the day before the vandalism even occurred.
But here's the thing. Bad liars always leave receipts. Just look at this overwhelming physical evidence from the police report. The car doing donuts blew a tire and crashed into a fence. And left, right there at the scene of the vandalized business, was a right front tire rim, a side view mirror matching the exact paint color of Jason's car, and a fog lamp. And wouldn't you know it, all 3 of those exact items were missing from Jason's heavily damaged Jeep.
Jason actually tried to claim this was all a giant coincidence. He swore he hit a tree miles away, completely totaling the car, making it undrivable, and then somehow got the car all the way back to his house. The judge trapped him so perfectly with his own logic, saying, "I thought you told me that it was not drivable, sir." Because yeah, you can't claim a car is completely totaled and undrivable while simultaneously claiming you magically drove it home on the rim. The lie just completely collapsed. And if you want to know the financial consequences of honesty versus deception, they're absolutely staggering. The 5-year-old who told the truth caused $422 in damage, which his parents just paid. The 23-year-old who lied through his teeth, he was hit with a $4,600 judgment. Turns out lying as an adult costs significantly more than a child's honest mistake.
Let's wrap this all up with Section 5, Ultimate Courtroom Life Lessons. This is your definitive survival guide.
So, we have covered family betrayals, romantic disasters, and terrible, terrible liars. Let's gather everything we've learned and build out some golden rules derived from all these chaotic cases. Here is your rapid-fire syllabus for life. Number 1, never sell a used car to a friend or a family member. It literally always ends in resentment. Number 2, if you do sell something, always put the exact purchase price in a written contract. 3, you cannot illegally evict a roommate. Never change the locks without a proper 30-day notice, or you will forfeit your right to their rent. 4, for the love of everything, do not relocate your entire life for a separated married man who hasn't even figured his own life out yet. 5th, if you act terribly to an ex but still accept their cash, you're going to be forced to pay it back. And finally, number 6, if you're going to boldly lie to a judge, make absolutely sure you didn't leave half your car scattered across the crime scene.
Ultimately, what these cases show us is that a courtroom is exceptionally good at cutting through all our personal narratives and excuses to find the objective truth of our behavior. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If you were put on the stand tomorrow to explain your last big argument, would your actions look like a reasonable mistake to an impartial judge, or would they look like a calculated power play? Definitely something to think about the next time you mix money and relationships.
Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.